Alright, good afternoon everyone. Koto, can you maybe please mute your microphone? You'll see there's a little button next to your name. Ah, thank you. Alright, welcome back everyone. So, last time, I heard some students didn't watch the live stream. So, I'll quickly explain how to watch the video as well. So you'll see there, next to my name, on the voice channel, there's a little button saying live in red. Then you're going to have to click there, I think, and then follow the stream from there. It'll say something like watch the recording. If you can't see my screen, please type in the general chat. Then we will help you there. Alright, welcome everyone. So, I first want to ask, did everyone get the homework done? Were there any problems or did you find it easy? You can type in the chat or you can even use your microphone. Then you can unmute and you can talk to me. How was the homework? Was it easy? Did you struggle? Any comments? I see Keen is typing. Number 3 was a bit more difficult, I hope. A bit more difficult than what it looked like. No problems with the homework, that's good to hear. Oh, I see everybody's typing, I like that, thank you, no problems. Yes, it's a bit difficult giving a class on Discord, so I can't see your faces or know what you think or how you find the work, so I do enjoy it if you do type in the chat and if you do participate. Alright, anyway, I see Nabil is also typing. No problems. Okay, everything looked good so far. And everybody knows about the Wednesday question and answer session, right? With Mr. Wiem. He's also more than willing to help with the homework and other problems as well. Right. Fine and easy. That is good. I'm glad everyone found the work easy. Okay. So I will be moving on. Okay, so the homework, we can start with our slides. I see Mr. Wiem is typing. Friday class text channel also, perhaps it makes more sense to type text messages. Oh, okay, Friday classes. Alright, so I see Mr. Wiem said that there is a new text channel for, so we can type in the Friday class text channel. Alright, moving on. I will start with the homework I gave you. Let me see the slideshow. Alright. So number 1 was fairly straightforward. Number 2, oh yes. Ricky and Thiem Hoffman. Sorry, I have no idea how to yes. Oh, okay. If you're not, yes, Mr. Hoffman. Right. If you guys don't want to say something, please mute your microphones. I'm sorry, I cannot hear. Oh, your sound is it's a bit difficult to hear you. Try again, if you can move closer to your mic. Alright. You can type in the text. Right. Mr. Hoffman, can you please type in the text in the Friday class channel? I find it very difficult to hear. I think the microphone is a bit... You'll see there at the bottom next to your username, there's a little mute icon. Right. Right, so moving on. You'll see, so number 1 should have been fairly straightforward, just using the new line statements. I will show the solutions now. Number 2 would have been a bit more difficult using this special character. Alright, So let's see. So for number 1, this was my solution, but you are welcome to have another solution, as long as the output was correct. All right, so I used 3 different print line functions. For number 2, you'll see there was a special character. For number 2, you'll see there was a special character to use.
Sorry, Robbie, can I
Yes.
interrupt?
Yes, yes.
Just ensure that everyone is watching your screen. I know last week some learners had issues with that. So if any of you is not seeing Robbie's screen at the moment, you'll see if you scroll to his name under Friday classes, there's a little live button to the right of his name. If you click on there, another window will pop up where you can click on some button that says something like watch screen, and then you should see his screen. Then also, I would advise at the bottom right hand side of your screen that you select the full screen option. Otherwise, the code that he types will be too small for you to see well. So please try that. If you still have issues, you can type in the text channel and I'll assist you.
All right, thank you. I did mention at the start of the class quickly about the live button. All right. So if you can't see the class, please do tell us in the chat, on the Friday class chat, just to make sure. I want everyone to follow along. Right, and please mute your microphone. You'll see, if you look on my screen where my mouse currently is, next to my name, there's a little microphone button. And then you can click on that and it would mute your microphone. All right. And then you can unmute your microphone when you want to tell me something. All right, or ask a question. Or use the chat. All right, so moving on. Question 2 of the homework. It was a bit more difficult. So you'll see that in Python, when you use that special character, it doesn't print the first one. I will explain that a bit more now, but it is a special character display that you use to do a command. So when you want it to display, if you want to print that character, you have to type it twice. All right. Before I move on to number 3, I want you to type in the Friday class chat, how did you do number 3? So number 3 was, I wanted you to type to display it's raining. How did you get that symbol specifically to print? Does anyone want to share their solution? You can just type the single line of code in the Friday class chat. Right, let's see. Keen is typing. It's raining. All right. Can you type the whole line of code? I want to see what you printed. It's raining. Right. Okay. Thank you. So I do see, and it worked like that. All right. And for the second, for the fourth question, thank you everyone for participating. I do appreciate that. And for the fourth question, what is that character? The backspace, the backslash character. Did anybody get the name for that? If you can tell me the name for that character, what is it? Alright, Ishmael, is the escape character. Yes, escape code. Alright. Okay, so I see you did you did do your homework, you did do a bit of research. I appreciate that. That is how you will be bettering your programming. Okay, so for number 3, I also had the it's raining. Now 4, so the escape character. So as I said, if you type the backslash only once, it would not be printed. The interpreter would read the next character as an action. So actions that you can use will be the T action, the B action, or this one I covered in the last class, a new line. So does anyone know what the backslash T will do? Can anyone take a guess? I'm going to make a new file quickly. I'll be naming it class 2. And then we can test them together. Alright. A tab space, well done. Alright. Makes a space, it makes a tab, yes. And for the other one, the \b, does anybody have an idea? What will the \b do? Does anyone know? It's just another command of Python. There's all sorts of commands you can do with the escape character. I'm just waiting for my file to open up, then we can do them together. Bold. That's a good guess, but unfortunately not. We'll do them now. I'm just waiting for my environment to open up. Alright, so while I'm busy with this, you all can also create a new project file. We will be programming together today. So let me quickly. So when you open up Python or PyCharm, you will see the new project button at the top, and then you'll give your project a name, as we did in the first lesson. And we will be creating a new Python file. So I will just be naming this file the escape character to help you understand what it does. Alright, so let's start a very easy print function. Ishmael, yes, you are correct, backspace character. So let me show you very quickly. Let's type, let us type together. So when we use the first one, I want to put, for example, put a tab space in between these two words. So now you'll see the backslash and T character will not be printed, but it will create a tab. So it will create a space in there instead. The interpreter reads this special character and uses the character directly after that as a command. Alright, so the T is for space. The N we covered last time is for a new line. As you see in the output, it makes a new line. And the B is a backspace. So what it does is it erases the character previously. As you can see, it does not print the S from let us type together. Right, fairly straightforward. Okay, thank you everyone. So today we're going to be starting with a new lesson. So let's create a new file together now. I'm going to call this file user input. You can call it anything you want. These commands, so for example, if the new line character, as you saw in the previous class for your homework there, the new line character is just an easy way of creating a new line instead of writing a new print function. The backspace character I'm actually not sure about. It is a neat little function you can use, but the tab character, if you want to, let's go ahead and do a few, and then instead of having to type to hold down spacebar, let us type. Oops. Instead of having to input a few spaces, we can do we can just do a few tab commands. It's just fun little features for the print function to edit your string, to edit your text. All right. So we will be creating a new file today. So I'm going to be naming it user input. So as we did last time, you're going to right click on your project, folder there. You're going to say new Python file. I'm calling this one user input. Alright, so there is my new file. Okay, so last time we only looked at how to print on your text to the screen, how to make the computer display your text. But many programs require a user, someone else, to enter their own data. Otherwise, there would be no point, or otherwise computers would just display what the programmer wanted it to do, or what the programmer typed in. But there would be many. Think of if you're playing a game, and the computer asks you what is your name for this game. Okay, so we will be looking at how to get data from the user. Okay, so we're going to start by adding this following line of code. So you're going to follow along with me. So in your new file, I want you to start by typing input, then enter your name, as you can see in brackets and quotation marks. Can everybody see on my screen? Is there someone who cannot see my code? Is everyone fine? I want you to be able to follow along and type with me. Alright, I believe everyone can follow along. So now what will happen if I run this program? So just a quick refresher, you can right click and then you will see run and then your file name. If you click on that, it would run your program. Right, so what happens now is the computer gives me a chance to, now it waits for me to enter anything. So I wrote here enter your name, so the computer waits for me to enter my name, then it runs and it exits the program. Okay, so how this command here works is input tells the interpreter it is waiting for the user to type something in. It can be anything, a number, text. So I now just want to type in my name. So how let's take a look at how this works. All right. So there, as you can see, after I wrote input and I gave this prompt, the computer waits for me to type in something, and then when I press enter, the program finishes. So it was waiting for me as the user. Okay, so how does it work? Input tells the computer that it needs to allow the user to enter something. So this command, this function, waits for the user to type in something. In the quotation marks, in brackets, it gives a prompt. So this is to tell the user what is expected of him, what the computer wants from the user. So I can type anything there, but now the programmer, he now wants to have the user's name. So now you can tell the user, give me your name. All right, so you can type in any prompt. You can put in anything here, and then it will display as a prompt. Let me say, enter your age. And if we run that, same thing. The computer now tells me it wants me to enter my age. So if I type in my age and I press enter, then it runs and finishes the program. So then once the program is done, it finishes. Here you can see it says process finished. All right. But now the program doesn't do anything with that data. So now it's waiting for me to type in something, but there's no use for my name. Okay, so the program will exit once the user enters data, because we as the programmers didn't tell the computer what to do with that. So let's make the computer use our data now. Okay, so now we're going to change our code. So now we're going to make a print function. So everybody still remembers the print function. It will display what you type on the screen. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a print function, and you're going to put brackets around the input. And we're going to be adding something. So in quotation marks, I will say hello, comma, and then wait for my input. All right, so here you can see on the screen, just to make sure everybody follows along, you're going to be typing it exactly as I am here. You will say print, and then in quotation marks, hello, or anything, hello. End your quotation marks, you're going to add a plus, the plus symbol, and then the input function. Okay, so what do you think is going to be displayed if you can look here on the screen? What do you think will be, what will be the result? What will the computer print? Can anybody tell me? You can just type what you think will be the final result. If I click run, what will it say? Kylie, yes. Just a reminder, can everyone please change their nicknames on this class channel to their name? Then it will be a bit easier to know who is talking. It will print hello and then whatever the person's name is. Yes, you are correct. Thank you, Kylie. Thank you, Keen. Yes, yes. Okay. So we can start. We can run this. So what happens now? Oops, I said age. Let me just change this to name. Okay. So what happens now is the computer, once I run, so it asks, enter your name. So here I say Robbie. And then hello, Robbie. Alright, so now the computer actually uses my data. Everyone here was right. Yes. Okay. So by using the input function, we can make the interpreter wait for the user to type in something, and then we should use that data. So now I used it with a print function. So that is how I got the result of the computer displaying the user's name with the programmer's text. Right, so let's take a look at how that works. Okay, so the print function, as we did previously, it prints everything in brackets. Input will read the user's input. Okay, but notice how the input is now inside the brackets of the print function. So that means the input function runs first. So the input function will first display the prompt and wait for the user, and then after that it will do what's on the outer bracket. So print is the outside statement, the outside function. So then the whole print command would run after the input command ran first. So you can make your own print statements using an input. You can ask for age. You can you can make your own statements there using the print and input function, but make sure you put the input inside the print function. The function that is inside will run first and the function outside will run second. Okay, so now we will look at variables. Does anyone know what a variable is? Have you heard of that before? You would use it in math also. And I do believe in school you have used variables before in math. Give me an example of a variable. I see several people are typing. Nice. X, yeah. An empty data set that can have any data. Yes. Okay. All right. You guys are correct. It's a number that stands in place of an unknown number. Kylie, yes, that is very close. However, it can be anything in programming. It is not just a number. It can be text. It can be data. Any letter. Yes, yes, there you go. There you go. Right, everyone is correct. Yes, yes. Okay, so now we'll be looking at variables and the assignment operator. A string, Khoto. I will be explaining a string now to everyone. We'll be looking at that a bit later. Not everyone here, I believe, would know what that is already. So I see you already have some experience. Okay, cool. So moving on. So we'll be looking at the variables and assignment operator. So a variable, as you said, it stores a value. That value can be anything. It can be changed. It can be adapted. You can use it in your program to be retrieved later. It is any data that you can store and get and display at another point, like the X in math. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to be creating a new. We'll be deleting the code we put in here. We're going to be creating a variable. All right. So to create a variable, in Python, you can just write a name. You can give it any name you want. You can call it X. We'll be calling ours name. And then I want this to be your name. Steve, yes, you can put in anything there. We can say Steve. There you go. So in the name variable, we will be writing Steve. So make sure to put it in quotation marks. Okay, so if it's in quotation marks, then the interpreter will understand that it is text. It is a string. You will understand that a bit later. But for now, you just have to know to put it in quotation marks. Right. So now, when I run the program, it will not do anything, but it saves this name, Steve, in the name variable. Okay, but we don't use that yet. So that is why nothing happens. Okay, but now it might be a bit confusing. So if you're used to math, where you can say 5 plus 5 equals 10, the equal sign does not mean the same thing in programming as it does in math. It can be a bit confusing. It is something that frustrates some programmers, that they use the same symbol. Right, but it is important to remember it is a different symbol. So how you read it in programming is you would say this equals symbol would be the assignment operator. So you assign, so here you can say I assigned my name Robbie to the variable name. So you read it right to left. So you will say whatever is on the right hand side is assigned to the variable on the left hand side. So I store this text in this variable. Okay, so that might be a bit confusing coming from maths. So how you can see where it differs from programming to math is by the statement x and then the equal symbol, x plus 5. So in math, this doesn't make sense. But in programming, this is perfectly acceptable. Let's take a look at how that works. Okay, so in programming, let's say we make a variable and we assign 5 to that variable. So x is now 5. Okay, so in programming, as I just said, you read from right to left. So now, x being 5, if you say x plus 5, so then it is 10. Okay, but now we want to assign this new value to x. We want to do this little calculation and then assign this calculation's answer to x. So then we can say x plus 5 is assigned to x. Okay, so if we type that here, I will quickly comment this out. Everybody still remembers this symbol, the hashtag symbol being a comment, and then the interpreter ignores this line of code. So we can start, we can make a variable, we can call, we can say this variable is 5. Now we make, we assign the answer of x plus 5 to 5. What do you think will print once if we want to print x? What will be the answer of this? Can anyone tell me? What will be printed? If we say x is 5, 10, yes, thank you. So we can run this. 10, yes, yes, you're right, Pizza. Yeah. And there you can see 10 was printed. So this is what I mean when I say it is not exactly the same as in math, because in math, if you now carry this x over and it becomes negative, so 1x minus 1x is 0, and you cannot say 0 equals 5. That is not true. So that is where programming differs from math, because this is not an equal symbol, this is the assignment operator. That is very important to remember, otherwise a lot of these statements won't make any sense. Alright, so everybody was correct. It is 10 in this case. Okay, so back to our program. Now we can use this variable. Okay, so I want you to add this line of code. So we want to create a new print function, and I want to use this variable. So I want to say my name is, and then name. But now, look here. You will see my name is, this part that I want to print is in quotation marks, but the variable is not in quotation marks. If I run this, then you will see my output is my name is Steve, as I wanted it to be. Right. But if I put this into quotation marks, if I put the variable name in quotation marks, does anybody know what will be the output then? Can anyone tell me what will happen if I run this line of code? My name is in quotation marks plus name in quotation marks. Yes, Keen, thank you. My name is name. And that is not what we want to happen. My name is name. Okay, so when you put it in quotation marks, the interpreter reads it as you want that little piece of text printed exactly as it is written there. But if we use the variable that we created, then the interpreter knows, okay, take that piece of data that we stored, that we created at the start, and use that piece of data. So now it displays that piece of data here in the print function. Okay, so I believe this is easy to some of you, but to others this might be completely new information. A lot of people I know already have some programming experience. I can see some of you already know what strings are and such. And also heard some of you already started with the Olympiad assignments, which I'm very glad about. But if you do not know, don't worry about it. We will take you through everything. And for those of you who might be a bit bored now, we will get to more advanced concepts fairly quickly. All right. We just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and everybody understands what's happening. Okay. So next up, we will look at so this plus symbol. All right. So this looks like the mathematical plus for 5 plus 5 or whatever. But in programming, this can also mean something else. So when we use it in this context, so when we use it between with text on either side, then it is called the concatenation operator. So concatenation is to join two pieces of text, specifically in this context. So both the left-hand side is text and the right-hand side. So we stored a string in that, a piece of text. So when it use it in this context, it is the concatenation symbol. It is not the plus symbol here. Okay, so as I then said, your output should be my name is Robbie. Okay, here's the full program for everyone. I will also upload this same as last week. Let me quickly just show everyone. Use the num function. Yes, Ricardo. Wrong. Okay, I will explain how to combine strings and pieces of text and numbers a bit later. All right, let me just show you quickly. I will upload both the video and the PowerPoint, this slide, to lecture material. And for those of you who didn't see this last week, so you'll see I will put the date with both the video and the PowerPoint on the lecture material text channel, so you can just look there every week. All right, getting back, Ricardo, yes, you're right. I will explain that to everyone in a bit. Okay. So as I said, notice how name is not in quotation marks. Otherwise, it will say my name is name, which is not right. Okay, data types. So for this, I want everyone to create a new file. Let me just quickly ask: does everyone understand the user input so far? Are there any questions? If I'm going too fast, please do tell me. If you have a question, if you're stuck, you can type in the chat. Okay, I see my Peter is typing. Let me just give a minute. Can we use comma instead of plus? Okay, it is safer to use the plus, but let's see what happens if I say a comma there and I run this. My name is Steve. Okay, so what this does is it gives it a second argument when you use that comma. In other functions, then it might be a bit dangerous to use, as then it will change what the function does. Many functions have space for more than one argument. So let me explain an argument quickly. So here, my name, if I do it like this, my name is Steve. This is a single argument in the brackets. So when you use the comma, then it adds a second argument. So sometimes this changes the output of the function. So when using strings, it is safer to, if you just want to concatenate, if you just want to combine two strings, then using the plus symbol will be one of the safest, best ways to join two strings. It did work in this case, but not exactly as expected. If I say, you see, if I run this, so it does work in this case, but normally it is better to use explicitly the operator that you want the program to output, just to ensure that your results will be exactly as you intend. Okay, but it is a good question. Right. Any other questions? Okay, I will be carrying on, but please do feel free to type. So I want us to create a new file now. So in your project, right click on your folder, new Python file, and we will be calling this one data types. Right. Current slide. Data types. Okay, so now we're going to be creating a bit of a longer program. So everyone can follow along with me. We'll start by creating a variable. I want this variable to be called age. So I want the user to give me his age. And so I will be doing that by using the input function, and then in the quotation marks I will say enter your age. Okay, so if you run this, it asks the user for his age, but it doesn't do anything with that. Alright, so follow along. Now I want the user to, the computer, to add, I want to change what is stored in here. Okay, so now I take the variable age. I want to add 2 years to it. I want to add the number 2 to it. So I will say age plus 2. Okay, so what I want the computer to do is I want it to ask the user for data, the data being how old he is. Then I want to take that data and I want to add 2 to that number. Now I want to print in 2 years you will be plus age. Right, plus 2. Will this program work if I right click run? Is everybody confident that this program will work as we want it to work? Does anybody suspect any issues? Type that in your own PyCharm project and run it. And I want you to tell me what you see. I'll give everyone a minute or two to type this program. Let me hold it on screen for you here. Alright. These 3 lines of code, I want you to enter them and run that. Right, I see the first people have starting to run their program now. Does it work? It says enter your age. Yes, that's a good one. Okay, Christian, enter your age then and see what happens. Okay, and once you enter your age, it doesn't work. Yes, everyone is right. Ricardo, first change it to an integer, and Keen, it's a string, not an int. Yes, exactly. Okay. I see Kylie is also typing. Must be int. You can't add string to integer. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I'm very glad to see everybody participating in the chat is fairly aware of what's happening. Okay, so what does each line do? As I said, it creates a variable, asks the user for an input. So we want the user to give us age. Then we take that age, we add the number 2 to it, and then we will print this statement. But it doesn't work. Yes, you're right. So now we see we cannot join a string with an int. Right. So what is a string? What is an integer? Okay. Let's say Ricardo. What is an int? Can you just explain to me what an int is? You can just type in the chat. Very short. It does seem like some of you already have some programming experience. It is a function that changes the string to number. Okay, yes. I'm not talking about this function. I'm talking just about this int without the brackets. What is that? What is an int? It is short for something. Does anybody know? Any whole number? Yes. Yes. It is short for an integer. Like that. So an integer is any whole number. It can be a negative or a positive number. Okay, and a string, before I show the slide, what is a string? Can someone tell me what a string is? Then I will also explain the difference. I just want to, okay, we got someone new typing, Didi. Words. Yes, very basic, but a good answer. Ordered sequence of characters. Series of words or letters, yes. A string is a line of words or letters. Okay, very good answers from everybody, yes. Okay, so a string, as you said, it is a sequence of characters. It can be numbers as well, but the computer won't read a string as a number. So if I say, for example, let me comment out these lines of code quickly. Okay, so can anyone tell me what is the difference between this and this? So look at line 5. Line 5 is a 2 and line 6 is a 2 in quotation marks. What is line 5? Is it an int or a string? Line 5. So look at line 5. Is it an int or a string? Can anyone tell me? It is an int. The first one is int and the second one is a string. Yes, correct. Why is the second one a string and not an int? What makes line 6 be displayed as... the computer reads line 6 as text and not as a number. Why is that? What is the difference? What makes that difference? The quotation marks. Yes, 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 good. All right. So the quotation marks in Python specifically... Yes, yes, Didi, thank you. Yeah, the way I wrote it, using the quotation marks. So in Python, when you add it in quotation marks, the number, it will be seen as text, as a string, and not as a number. Okay. So a string can be anything, it can be numbers, but it is different from integers. It is saved differently in memory. Okay. So as everyone also said, integers are positive or negative numbers. So there's no decimal point. And it cannot be text. An integer cannot be words, sentences, exclamation marks, anything that is not a number. Okay. So the problem with line 2 in our program. Okay. So we got that error. So what happens in line 2? Why do we get that error? So let me quickly run my program again. It asks for age 28. So what happens in line 2? Why is this wrong? Can anyone tell me why line 2 of my program makes my program break? You input a string, yes. Okay. Is it wrong to just input a string? I mean, I can print just a string, or I can make a name variable and call this Keen, for example. So here I input a string and there's nothing wrong. But what is the problem? Yes, Ishmael, it needs to be converted to an int. Yeah, you are correct. Okay, so this too, as we said, okay, I see people are still typing. Let me just wait for everyone. The computer reads the input as a string and you can't add a number to words. That is exactly right. Yes. Okay, so what happens is this. So when you input data, the computer automatically assumes you input a string. So if I type, because for example I can type let's say I can say I am 28. And then the computer will still see that as a string, even though I type 28 or I am 28. So the interpreter thinks that the user inputs a string automatically. So what happens here is age is now a string. But now I want to add a integer to age. So if let's see what happens if I, for example, add this 2 to age. If I make this integer a string. Let's see if it will work now. So I can enter my age. Let's say I am 100 years old. So in 2 years you will be 1002. Okay, so now it works because this is now a string and not an integer when I add the quotation marks. So it takes what I type, 100, and it adds the number 2 to the back of it, and that is why I get 1002. Okay, so then the program works because both of them are strings, but now it is not, both of them are not strings. So how can we fix this? Can anybody give me a, you can type in the chat just a single line of code so we can fix line 2. So line 2 is the problem. So how can we change this variable to an integer? What can we do? I think it was Ricardo who gave me the answer earlier in the class. He did give me a solution already. Yeah, it was Ricardo. How can I change that that line 2? Int age. Yes. Okay, I'm very happy to see everyone participating in this class. Okay. Yes, age equals int age plus int 2. Alright, alright. So Ricardo, the number 2 is already an integer, so it is not necessary to cast that to an integer as well, seeing as it's already an integer. Okay, so let's see what we can do. So as I said, the age variable is retrieved by using input, so it is a string. Age plus 2 is incorrect because 2 is an integer where age is a string, so you guys were right there. So to convert age, the variable age, to an integer, if we want to do calculations with it, we have to change age. But we can change it also in the beginning. So I'm going to be changing it immediately. So I want it to be stored. I want to store age as an integer. So what I will be doing is when I ask for the user input. So I will start by creating a function called int, and then I will ask for the user input. Okay, so it runs the inside brackets first. So what happens now? It will take the user input. So first it'll ask for my age, then it'll take my input, and it will cast it to an integer. So this is that function that Ricardo wrote earlier. So the int function. So everything inside the brackets will be converted to an integer. Okay, so what I do now is I take the input, I can cast it to an integer, and then I save that integer in my age variable. So now this variable is no longer a string, so I change it immediately from the beginning, but it is not incorrect if you want to change it there. you can, as Ricardo said, you can also change age year. And then you can, we will test the different programs now. So I change it here from the start. So now I converted this age variable to an integer. Okay, so if I run this now, will this program work now? So I want everyone to just adjust line 1 by saying int and then the brackets around your input function. So change your code and run that code. Let's see if that works. The program should work now, right? Or not. I want you to run that and tell me what you see. Ah, it doesn't work for me. So mine does not. It says that age cannot be added to a string because it's an integer. Yes, all right. So what happens now? Can anybody tell me what the problem is now? So let's see if I run this into your age. Let's say I am 100 once again. What is my problem now? So now we see the problem is in line 3. It is not in line 2 anymore. So we fixed line 2's problem. But we have another problem now in line 3. So what's wrong? What is the issue there? Cannot be to a string. Okay, but let's say so now age is an integer and this first part is a string. So what is the issue with that? Replace the plus with a comma. Okay, that is one way. But I want to work just with strings. Let's say I want to just print strings here in the print function and I do not want to use the comma. What can I do now? You can convert the whole thing to a string. Yes, Kylie, how would I do that? String age. Yes. All right. So that is how we cast between different data types. Okay. As I said, once you change line 1, then we change this age variable to a string. Just once again, I want you to be aware of this, how the program, the functions run from inside to outside. Okay. So now everyone was correct. We cannot concatenate a string and an integer. So how we fix this, as Kylie said now also, as a few people said as well. Yeah, Ishmael also, yes. Okay, so what we do now, we use that same function as we did to cast from a string to an integer. We can use that a similar function to cast from an integer to a string. Okay, so what we can do now is we can say str, it stands for string, and then we put age in brackets. Okay, let us run and see if this works. Okay, so I'm 28. In 2 years, you will be 30. That is a horribly big number that I do not like. Okay, so now our program runs. Right. Everyone run that with me. See if your program also runs. If you do have an error, please do tell me, because now it really should work. Okay. If your program runs now, just say yes. It works. Awesome, Christian. Yes. I want everyone else to also participate. Are you guys following along? I see there's a few people in the chat in the channel who's a bit quiet. Nabil, yes. All right. So everyone's program seems to be working now. Okay. I'm very glad to hear that. Yes. Okay. Great. Love it when you guys participate. It makes my job a lot easier. Okay, so we notice how the age variable is inside the string functions brackets. So that means we want to change this age now. So, I see here in the slides, it's a bit of a longer function. It's a bit of a longer print function. So I also add another string, a third string to the back of this. So you can concatenate however many strings you want in a single print function. Right. So that is the safest way to do it. If you cast from a integer to a string, instead of just using the comma, then you know the program will perform exactly as how you want it to perform, and that you don't get any unexpected results. All right. So now we have success. The program now runs. So you call that that conversion a cast. So you can cast from anything. You can cast basically anything to a string, but to cast to an integer, you have to make sure that your data is numbers only. If it will be text, then you will get a problem. All right. So now I will be giving you your homework. The first one is going to be a bit more difficult, but I want to see if you're able to do it. Please do try, even though if you can't get it right. If you do struggle, you can ask me or Mr. Vium. Okay, so for number 1, I want you to swap variables. Okay, we have a variable A that stores the string dog, and we have a variable called B that stores the string cat. So I want you to write a program for me that swaps A and B. So then when you print A plus B, then the answer will be cat, dog, cat, comma, dog. That will be the result. Okay, but you cannot simply reassign the variables. You cannot just say A equals assign cat to A or assign dog to B. You see, even I still struggle with the equals and assignment, and I've been doing it for many years now. So you cannot simply reassign the variables. I want you to create a third variable called C, and then use C to swap A and B, and then you can delete C again at the end once your program, once the data is stored correctly. All right, so that's the first one. It's going to be a bit of a more difficult one, but I want you to start thinking of problems now. I want you to start using your logic, using what's the skills you've learned so far, and going on the internet. You can Google, you can ask us. Okay, so that's the first one. That's going to be the difficult, exciting one. And then number 2 is a bit easier. We did number 2 in class, basically. So I want you to write a program that asks for the user's name, it asks the user's age, and then I want you to do a calculation with that age, where you say last year you were, then you take your age minus 1. Last year you were that years old. Right. So thank you everyone for joining. If you have any questions, please do ask. If you have technical issues, you can also tell us. If you could not follow the class, if you can't hear me properly, you can tell me. If you don't want to type it here in the text, you can even email me. You can ask your questions there also if you're a bit shy to ask me here. I am typing my email in the chat now, so you please do feel free to ask me any questions. All right, or give me comments, or if you have any ideas. All right. I see if there's nothing else, then we can finish today's class. All right. Remember, you have your question and answer session on Wednesday afternoon, I think 2:30. Then you can talk to Mr. Vium about any problems you have with the homework. Christian, okay. When will the homework be posted? Now, I'm going to post it immediately. I will upload